Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if you have your sun in Capricorn and your moon in Sagittarius. These are adjacent signs and they have very little in common, except perhaps for the fact that both of them are winter signs. They are the last signs of their elements in the zodiac. And this means that they possess the wisdom of that element. So with the with Capricorn being the last earth sign, it has a maturity um, that is connected to the earth. And it's not surprising given that Saturn is father time. And so you will see with Capricorn less of the what would I call it? The conspicuous consumption that you might see with the first earth sign, Taurus, with a very, young attitude, like a new soul that is enraptured by all of the material things, the senses being filled and wanting material items too, possessions. Capricorn is more Spartan, and it also utilizes those material things in the best way possible. The motto of Capricorn is I use. And so there's this sense of being very conscious about conservation. So it's no surprise that Capricorn is thought of as conservative because of that. And then we have Sagittarius as the moon sign, and Sag is a fire energy. So it is very expansive, where there is a contraction with Capricorn because of Saturn. And Jupiter, the ruler of Sag, can be excessive. And so this is something that we recently experienced when we had Jupiter and Saturn both in Aquarius, is that we were seeing these contrasting manifestations of what the same sign, the transit, meant in both of those planets. And they're almost like diametrically opposed. So a person who has this combination, actually, this can be quite good, strangely enough, because it can temper you in both directions. The moon is the emotional nature, and to have the moon in Sagittarius can be quite uplifting, can mean that you are basically a happy person. And of course, you have to look at other aspects, like when you look at the chart, see where the moon is, see where the sun is, and see what kind of aspects are made to these planets, because that will give you even more information. And other things that are going on that influence the person's basic personality. And so this can make you very buoyant, positive, optimistic in your nature. So emotionally, this can bode well for such a person. Occasionally, there can be excess where the person is a little bit too, I was going to say wound up, but just over the top emotionally, exaggerating, being exaggerated in their emotions, maybe even manic a little bit, where they're, that's what I mean by over the top. But in general, I think that it's a great placement for the moon. The sun in Capricorn is very serious, overly serious sometimes. So suffice it to say, the moon can moderate that because the moon is the emotional nature. So that can certainly impact that overly serious, maybe a bit austere core personality, which the sun represents. And also, since Capricorn is so ambitious, it can make you more philosophical, and therefore you can see the bigger picture. Because, oh wow, if only I, had that ability to retain a quote just after I read it once, I would be able to do it justice. But I just read something last night, one of those memes, and it was talking about the oh, you know what? It was actually this morning, and it was talking about children and school, going to regular school versus homeschooling, and about how, lamenting how they are conditioned to work for gold stars and, getting straight A's and things like that, instead of this joy of learning. So that kind of trying to gain validation from the outside world is bred into children quite early, is really conditioned into them. And this is the thing that Capricorn could use a lot less of. Ambition is fine, but you have to question it. You have to say, why do I need this? Why do I need this validation from the outside world? Do I only exist as a successful human being if I jump through so many hoops and I get so many gold stars? And so that is a form of philosophical inquiry, is really just questioning your own desires and what is the end game, and tracing it back to where you think it comes from. Now, it's just wired into Capricorn sun signs to want to raise their station in life. And the vehicle that they choose to do this is through their career. And that's why Capricorn rules the 10th house of career. And Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, so it rules it. And Saturn being father time, it can be a delayed success. And Capricorn knows that. They're planning for the long haul. So what's so nice is when you have the moon in Sagittarius, it allows you to keep upbeat as you go through these phases of your career. And, when you have possible setbacks, you're not just devastated and you're like, oh, this is no good, screw this. You're able to bounce back, and you're able to always put a positive spin on it. Now, because the moon is in Sagittarius, it may affect the type of work that you gravitate towards. Certainly, I would not hazard a guess on here just like across the board, because you have to look at the midheaven, you have to look at a lot of things to see what a person would really be into. But the sun sign is a good start for sure. And Capricorn can rule anything that is in a structured, like a tiered system. So the government, and that can run the gamut, just like an ordinary government job, or even being in Congress or something like that, where you're in this body, and there's a pecking order. A corporate type of a job, certainly. But anything, even the educational system, you would probably, if you started as an educator, you would probably drift. Actually, I shouldn't use the word drift with Capricorn, but you would ascend to being an administrator, because that is higher on the food chain. That sounds bad, but you know what I mean. I'm just trying to be funny. And because, Capricorn is a cardinal sign, so you do tend to strive for leadership positions, and you're comfortable giving orders. But as a cardinal sign, unlike Aries, I think that you are able to take orders because you want so badly to rise in your station in life that you're willing to pay those dues. I think the phrase pay your dues probably comes from Saturn. That sounds so Saturnian, if that's a word. But like I said, with the moon in Sagittarius, you may be a little bit lighter emotionally. You might laugh more, have a more cheery disposition, and not be as emotionally cold, because there's a coldness to Capricorn, which probably wouldn't offend you. You probably might even be a little bit proud of that. Look to see what degree your moon is in Sag, because let's say it's 1 degree. Then it might be, or 29 degrees of Sag, and you're going to be very close. If it's 29 degrees, you're going to be close to Capricorn, and you might have that more aloof. Well, I say cold because it's a little bit different than the Aquarius type of vibe. But you might be colder emotionally. And if you're closer to Scorpio, you might be more intense emotionally than Sag is. But if you're a true blue moon in Sag, you may have a spiritual side to you. You probably will. And this is something that you need on an emotional level, because you're drawn to it. And also, like I said, look to see where the moon is, because let's say it's in the 9th house, or even the 8th house, but especially in the 9th house, you might be attracted to certain deities and have a devotional relationship with them. And in terms of the love life, I think that this can be a very solitary type of combination where you are capable of being single for long periods of time. Not to say that you would never get hitched or never live with somebody, but Capricorn is very self-contained. And, I will say that I do believe that Sun and Capricorn people are a lot more sensitive than others may realize. They have a very hard shell. But, and there are reasons for this. I don't want to get into it, but also you have to look at the 4th house, look at the 1st house. What's the rising sign? How were the conditions coming into this lifetime for the person? Because that can also give a window into why that person is the way that they are. But in general, we could say that about Capricorn, is that they have this very professional demeanor that belies a lot of sensitivity underneath the surface. But they're very resourceful and very, I'm searching desperately for a word, self-reliant. And I think that's that Saturn type of thing. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps. And because of this, that can mean that they are not in need of someone to nurture them. Again, mileage may vary. If your rising sign is Pisces, Cancer, Libra, then you might be more wanting that relationship. So just to give a little bit of a disclaimer. And then you have the moon in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is very independent, loves freedom. And we're talking about the emotions here. So for sure, the moon in Sag is happy to be on their adventure, and they're not necessarily looking to settle down. at least right away. So this could be the person who finds their life partner after their first Saturn return, possibly, around the age of 30. And that, to me, I mean, if all things are equal, I think that everyone should do that if they can possibly help it. It's just to spend their 20s free and clear, dating, not necessarily sleeping around because that can complicate things, but meeting people, dating them, having fun with them, getting to know them, but not having to be tied down to somebody. Because when you're doing that, then when you're ready to settle down, and also they're starting their careers usually, then they can do that unencumbered. And then when it's time, when they're in their 30s, they're going to devote themselves to it much more wholeheartedly than when they, find themselves. And I was going to use the word trapped, but it felt so negative. But unfortunately, it can sometimes be that way because they weren't planning on it. They thought they should, get married at the age of 26 because they saw all their friends doing it. And then they ended up having children, but they may have not felt like they were able to do everything they wanted to do at a younger age, everything that they wanted to do. And with Capricorn, this is especially important to consider because of that very strong desire to have a career. And with a career, it's something that a person builds, and it's easier to build a career and then leave it or do it maybe by yourself, maybe transfer into your own type of consultation than to just start from scratch when you've already had kids, or you just have just a little bit of career under your belt and things like that. Now, in terms of other things that I can think of, I think that you might be attracted to people who are possibly fire signs, because being a Capricorn, the adjacent signs to you are Sag and Aquarius. And so you might have personal planets, you might have Venus in Aquarius or Venus in Sagittarius or Mars in either one of those signs, and that can make you a lot more interested romantically in these signs. So because you already have the moon in Sag, this is going to enhance that, and I don't think it's going to be detrimental. The problem is when somebody is a Capricorn and, maybe their moon is in Virgo or something very practical, but they have Venus and or Mars in a sign like Aquarius, and they might be attracted to a person like that, or in Sag, and they find that these people are not the kind that have the same way of going through life. Maybe they're less, I don't know, grounded in the way that you are, and you may feel frustrated that they have other interests. You might be very concerned with the material nature, making money, saving money, maybe especially with Sag, they can be outright spendthrifts, and you almost feel like you're the parent in the relationship. So I think with having the moon in Sagittarius, this can lighten your attitude a lot and make you more playful and spontaneous and things like that. And so it won't bother you when a partner is like that, and you would have more compatibility with somebody like that. In general, I would say somebody who is a sun in Capricorn would do better with earth and water signs. But of course, we are attracted to who we're attracted to, and we don't know their sign, when we lay eyes on them the first time. That comes later. So anyway, just a little bit of information about this combination. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you would like a personal reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.